just trying to survive, and learn to love along the way, by Foreplay on AO3. Episode 37, Chapter 37, of Training and Camping. The last few days before the training camp passed quickly. Izuku is a nervous wreck, packing and repacking his things daily. His dads even took him back to UA to train, but he was far too distracted and destroyed a training room wall. They leave him mostly alone after that, and Izuku is grateful. He knows he shouldn't be this nervous for a simple training camp, but he has no idea where they're going, or where they'll be doing. Plus, he's still on edge after the incident at the mall. Sunday morning, the day they're supposed to be leaving, Izuku wakes up 2 hours before he needs to, so he plops himself down onto the couch and opens his notebooks to wait. He easily gets lost in his analysis, working on one for a hero that had just debuted. The pleasant smell of breakfast makes him lose his focus on his work and look up, surprised to find that an hour and a half has passed. He makes his way to the kitchen for food and joins his dads at the table. Before he knows it, they're dragging their things out into the car. Sashi sliding into the driver's seat to give them a lift to the school on his way to the radio show. They're the first ones to arrive, and Hisashi gives them each a quick hug before he's off again. They quickly place their things on the bus before returning to the sidewalk to wait for the rest of the class. Izuku sits on the pavement, tired from the lack of sleep. Maybe the bus ride will be long enough for him to catch a few more hours. It's not long before more people arrive, a pair of feet stopping right in front of him. Izuku looks up to find the tired face of Hitoshi, grinning down at him. Couldn't sleep either. Izuku shakes his head with a small smile as Hitoshi sits down in front of him. They talk quietly until the rest of the class arrives. Shouta tells them to board the bus without Parental. As they board the bus, Izuku notes that half of Class 1B has yet to arrive. Shaking his head, Izuku picks a seat near the front and is revealed when Hitoshi picks the seat beside him. Shouta slides in behind them, and Izuku knows he's in for a relaxing ride. He only wakes when the bus stops moving and everyone is climbing off. Izuku is one of the last people off, and he freezes in the entryway when he sees where they are. This isn't a rest stop. The bus had stopped in a random pullout at the edge of a cliff. There's another car there, and Izuku moves closer just in time for the wild pussycats to step out. He hardly pays attention to what they're saying, only registers what's going on when they mention the time limit for reaching camp. The ground drops out beneath them, and Izuku scrambles to grab onto something to a slow descent. The only thing he manages to grab onto is Hitoshi, and he meets his wide eyes with look of fear in his own. Just as suddenly as they started falling, they jerked to a stop. Something wrapped around them and suspended them midair. Izuku follows the material with his eyes and finds Sero at the end of it, holding on to several strips of tape for dear life. Now that they're no longer moving, Izuku can see they're not that far from the ground anymore. He tears the tape that was holding him and Hitoshi and grips the other boy tight as he lets go. Hitoshi lets out a short scream at the sudden descent, but he cuts himself off the moment they land safely. A few more students do the same, and Sarah looks relieved that some of the added weight is gone. He slowly lowers himself and the rest of their classmates to the ground, and sinks to the ground with an exhausted sigh. Nice work, Sero. Izuku holds out a hand and Sero takes it, hauling himself to his feet. Everyone is untangling themselves with his tape when the ground shakes, and they freeze. The shaking gets closer, and something emerges from the forest. It's huge and looks to be made out of dirt, and it's heading straight for them. Izuku looks at where some of his classmates are still stuck together, and makes a decision. He powers up one for all and leaps towards the dirt monster, leveling a kick to its head. The head explodes upon contact, and the rest of the monster falls to the ground. Looks like this won't be so tough after all. Izuku regrets that thought as soon as it enters his mind. Not a minute later, 4 more dirt monsters emerge from the forest. Before Izuku has the chance to move, explosion sounds behind him, and Bakugou is flying over his head and aiming his hands at the monster's face. Before he could even blink, more of his classmates are rushing forward, using their quirks to destroy the dirt masses. The class makes their way into the forest and encounter an endless stream of dirt monsters. Where are they coming from? There's no way they'll make it to the camp in time at this rate that they're going. Maybe we should try evading them instead of fighting head on. Everyone turns towards him. He had not meant to say that so loudly. He had meant to say it quietly to Hitoshi. Maybe get some feedback on his idea before telling the whole class? Too late now. That's an excellent idea, Midoriya. We won't waste as much time and energy that way. The rest of the class nods in agreement to Ida's statement. Izuku just stands there, feeling a little shocked that everyone's so willing to go along with his idea. They split up into smaller groups before going. Smaller groups have less of a chance of being detected. They make sure the groups were fairly even in strength, making sure each group had someone with a more physical quirk, just in case they attract the attention of one of the monsters. Izuku is teamed up with Hitoshi, Kaminari, Hagakure, and Uraraka. As it turns out, they move a lot faster in smaller groups. They manage to avoid dirt monsters until the very end of the forest, where they find one that is much bigger than all the others they've encountered. They crouch down behind some trees and try to formulate a plan. Somehow I doubt we're getting around this thing. Kaminari looks a little frightened. No one says anything for a minute, and Izuku turns to look at the monster again. It's just standing there, as if waiting for something. Most likely waiting for them to make a move. The thing is massive, so it has to be slower than the other ones, which were already pretty slow to begin with. Alright, guys, I've got a plan. Midoriya's plan is insane. If he messes up even the slightest bit, they're completely screwed. For some reason, everyone else is fine with it, even if Uraraka looks a little ill at the idea of using her quirk so much. Denki can relate. There's a loud snapping sound on the other side of the beast, and that's their cue to leave. Hagakure is the only person they could have picked for a distraction. She is the only one who could have gotten past undetected, and the beast will have no clue where to look, even when she's standing right in front of it. They've got Shinsou slowly making his way around the side, ready to act in case anything goes wrong. God, he hopes nothing does. Denki makes eye contact with Midoriya as Uraraka uses her quirk on them. He looks confident that his plan will succeed. Midoriya grabs his hand as they start rising up. The monster hasn't noticed yet, too busy looking for the source of sounds. Midoriya plants his feet against a tree and changes his grip on Denki's arm. He presses against the side of the tree, Midoriya between him and the beast. You ready? No, he's not, but he nods anyways. Midoriya activates his quirk and uses all the strength he can to throw Denki forward. He's heading straight for the head of the monster, arms reaching in front of him. It starts to turn towards him as he activates his quirk, raising his hands up as if to deflect him. Denki bumps into the side of its hand, changing his course ever so slightly. He twists his body to try and readjust, but now he's just at a strange angle, with no way to alter his course. He closes his eyes right before he smashes into the thing's face. Midoriya threw him so hard that he goes through the face, his electricity shocking the creature and hardening the dirt around him. The moment he breaks through the other side of the head, he can feel Uraraka lose her grip on her quirk. He's falling, with exactly no idea on how to stop that. Their landing strategy hadn't accounted for the change of course and Uraraka dropping him. His descent stops, and it's not because he's crushed on the ground. Denki opens his eyes and finds himself in Shinsou's arms, beast on the ground behind them. He can feel his face warm at the position, and he tries to tell the other boy he's fine. Emphasis on the try. He must have overused his quirk, and now everything feels slightly numb, especially his tongue. He's really got to discuss this with Aizawa-sensei. There's no way he'll make it as a hero if his quirk always does this to him. Kaminari, you were awesome! Midoriya runs towards them, an excited grin on his face. Denki could feel his blush darken at the praise. He shakes his head at Midoriya. He didn't do anything other than activate his quirk. Nope, you were great. End of discussion. Let's get to the camp. Denki gives the other boy a small smile, and Shinsou lets him stand on his own feet again. They make the walk slowly, everyone recovering from the exertion of the fight of that monster. The only one not breathing heavily is Hagakure, but she still hangs back with them instead of racing ahead. The sun is low in the sky when they make it, but the only person around is Aizawa-sensei. He raises a brow at their disheveled appearance, but doesn't say anything, only points them in direction of food. Okay, am I a little worried? Yes, I am a little worried. Because Denki there blushed. Denki, I hope you know this is a Shingeki fanfic. Stay in your lane. Anyways, moving on. Not that I'm saying that I do not ship that. I do ship that. But, you know. This was an interesting chapter, seeing Denki's POV. I love the switch between Midoriya's POV, where he's like, I have an idea. And then Denki's POV being like, Midoriya's idea is insane. I love that. I love that so much. That is my... I love that. I want to see more of that. Give me more of that. Alright, so chapter 38 of Exhaustion and Limits. Summary. Day 2 of training camp. So we already have a small basis on what that's gonna be. But as of now, it seems like everything is the same. Like, same location. So I'm a bit interested. I am. But we'll see where this goes. We'll see. Maybe it is a different location. Maybe it's not the exact location. Maybe it's a different location than they chose. Who knows? Anyways, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.